that kind of thing. And as much as I enjoyed it, there were, some really well-meaning people in my life who wanted to point out to me that I wasn't that very good of a person because I enjoyed that. Because real Christians aren't interested in the presents and aren't interested in the gifts. People who love God may not even celebrate Christmas at all. I always found that really strange. I do know that there are some who have been some teaching that has gone on that has said, Christmas has these pagan roots, and I'm not going to go into it too much now, but the truth is that's not true. Like, it really isn't. I'd happy to show that to you. It really doesn't have any of those. A lot of those are urban myths that developed, and but from early on, the idea of setting aside this time, specifically December 25th, but to really celebrate the Advent, the coming of Jesus, was just vitally important, and gifts were a huge part of that. So I would like to try this morning to redeem a little bit, well, not only this morning, but for the next several weeks, as we talk about the gifts of God, that we're going to redeem this idea of gifts generally, but in a really deeper sense. And so I'm going to start off with us this week looking at these three verses here in James. Let me just read them to you. Don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of all he created. Now, as I start off, I just want to be clear that I understand that Christmas can be tough. Christmas can be really tough for a lot of folks. There's going to be some of you that it's going to be tough just because you hate it. You hate Christmas. And for those of you who are in that category, I get it. I've been there. I've definitely been in that place. The busyness that can come in the Christmas season, and the expectation that you have to meet for other people who are expecting something to happen and living up to that. And then, of course, the commercialism. That you have a bunch of stores that are very happy to pretend. I don't know. It felt like pretending to celebrate just so they can get their dollars from you. That they are full into it, and these are folks that are going to have no interest necessarily in the things of God after the Christmas season. So I get there, and I'm with you. Like, I felt like something was being robbed from how commercial and cultural the idea of Christmas was. I had a friend in New York, and that had, for years and years, when I was in college with her, I was trying to share the gospel with her, and she never quite got there. And she was Jewish by ethnicity. She didn't really follow much with that herself. And I got a hold of her a few years later and was talking to her, and it was about this time of year, and she was so excited for the Christmas season. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, nothing about you seems to really be Christmas, right? You don't claim to believe in God, and you have Jewish upbringing, which wouldn't have been Christmas. Like, what is it that you're celebrating? And she said, I just love the lights, the decoration, the presents, the commercialism of it all. That's what I love. And so I get it. Like, that feels like that something's robbed from you in that moment. So I get it, but the truth is I've gotten better, so maybe you can too. For those of you who hate it, I know it can be tough, but it can also be tough for those of you who idealize it, that have a sense of like everything has to be just perfect, and you have this image of how Christmas is supposed to be and what the season is supposed to be like, and what's supposed to be done at church and what's supposed to be done at home, and how everybody's supposed to act, and the gifts that you're going to get. And some of those people are the ones that make those first group more miserable by those who hate it because of those level of expectations. But it's also, the truth is nothing's going to be perfect. And all it takes is, for your favorite decoration to break or something to not go right. And if it's not ruined for you, then it's possible that you're ruining it for others. And that can be really tough. But then, of course, there's another category of folks it can be tough for, and those who are just experiencing the lack. It's very similar to that first group, but I just want to own the idea that there are those of us who have had great holidays in the past. We enjoyed Christmas. It wasn't full of expectation. It had this right balance of joy and warmth and authenticity, and yet this year's different. This year's different than those memories because of some loss. Maybe, as simple as a child who's no longer at home, or maybe a strained relationship that's just so evident during the Christmas time, or maybe the loss of a loved one. And it doesn't even need to be recent. Maybe they're somewhere in the past and it just hits you during these seasons. I want you to know that the passage we just read in James, actually, if you read the whole first part of James, it is actually talking to people who are really dealing with tough things. Like they're dealing with real tough things. They're dealing with persecution and pride. They're dealing with humiliation and temptation. They are suffering. It literally has in there, right at the second verse of James, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Because it's talking about trials. It's talking about people who are living in really difficult circumstances in really difficult places and telling them to find the joy. It's telling them that says, do not be deceived, as we read a moment ago. Do not be deceived, but that every good and perfect gift comes from God. So these folks are deeply struggling, and as we begin to talk about this, I want to help you get some tools that are here in James about how to handle the difficulty of Christmas, how to handle Christmas. But truthfully, it's just a template that I'm putting on top of this idea that is so much deeper than just Christmas. It's how to handle actually the difficulties, the perspective shift it takes to deal with the real difficulties of the world that are going to come for those of you who may be struggling, for those of you who hate the way this world is operating, for those of you who have this idealized version of how it should operate and all you can do is focus on the negative, or as you are feeling real loss in our world in the day-to-day that may have nothing to do with the Christmas season. We can see here in James a perspective shift that helps us to do that. So how to handle Christmas and everything else too. I go back to that phrase. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights. Every good and perfect gift suggests, first of all, that we need to make sure we just enjoy the good stuff of life. Every good and perfect gift from God. Do you understand what that means? That means that when good is happening, things that are really good, that's actually from God. Thanksgiving this past week, we had the chance to have some of our family together. We had we had good food and good conversation and some really stupid games afterwards, and it was good. And the truth is that is a gift of God, to be able to have those moments, to have even these things that there are things in this world that can be just good and you can enjoy them, and there's nothing wrong with that. I remember growing up and thinking that the whole point of being Christian was to make sure that you were miserable. And trust me, I had lots of examples in my life of people who were following God who just looked like they were miserable, and any time that you were to have fun, that's clearly you've got your focus off of God, and definitely don't enjoy church because that's not what this is about. And that is not of God. Every good and perfect gift comes from God. That means that you can enjoy good art, you can watch a good movie, you can get presents, you can get gifts, and insofar that those are good and enjoy good things, that is of God. Even the stupid gifts. And I say that as a little bit because the truth is okay, rabbit trail here. Every gift, I think, is to some level, literally presents are from one another is kind of dumb. Like from an efficiency standpoint, right? Just about everything, like no matter how much it cost, if somebody were to give you that exact same amount of money, chances are you wouldn't buy with that money what they got you. You would value something else. You would want something else. The best gift that could possibly be from an efficiency standpoint is somebody who gives you something that you didn't even know you wanted, but now that you have, you value at even a greater level than had they paid for it. So in some level, this idea of giving gifts is not very efficient. We should, from an economic standpoint, just give each other the same amount of money that we would spend on all this, right? But that's not the point. There's something else that happens in the giving, that even the stupid gifts, I know you just got a candle for the 30th time in 30 years, and you just do that, and it's like, okay, I've got enough candles. But you receive that there's still something about those who say, but I think you like those. I want to do this. This is what I can think through, and this is what I think, and I just offer. And to say that is of God, hear this, every good and perfect gift is from God. What do you make of the fact that everyone, even the good stuff that doesn't come from Christians? I mean, think about this, right? Let me give you a couple of examples. There's my wife was, I don't even know what she was listening to or something, but something came across her phone and it reminded me, it's an aria from the Magic Flute. I don't know if you're familiar with, it's the famous from the Winter Queen. I am not about to try to sing it. But my first opera that I ever actually enjoyed, I had done other operas and other things, and it just didn't do it for me. But this one from Mozart and the Wrath of Hell from the Snow Queen, it's a great song. It's a great aria. And the thing is I don't know if Mozart would have claimed to be Christian, but he wasn't a very good guy. Right? He wasn't that great of a guy, at least as far as we can tell, and he was just this flawed, messed up guy, as I suppose all of us are. But as he's doing this, still the thing that he gave, the music that he has given, despite the fact that he isn't Christian and he didn't necessarily do it for the glory of God, the goodness of that, according to James here, if it is indeed good, every good and perfect gift from God is from God. I don't know if you can catch that. The idea, the theologians call this common grace. That God gives grace and gives good things that is not necessarily limited to the good people get good stuff and the bad people get bad stuff. But to say, I just give grace, I give goodness, I have good things that are available whether you believe in me or not. And it's still from God. There was one year, I think it was Christmas, if not Christmas, it was some other time, but my wife has a friend at work they previously worked together, that she's tried for a number of years just to love her into the kingdom of God. And this person claims that she is a modern day witch. And so she's very pagan. And so in an effort to just kind of reciprocate some of the love that my wife has shown her over the years, one year she gave us this witch candle. I don't know what to call it, but it was basically a candle, and it had all this, I don't know, nifty, smelly stuff, and then some witch incantation thing on the front of it. And my wife's like, what do I do with this? We're going to have a witch candle? And I'm like, there's no power in this. She goes, well, here's the problem. It actually kind of smells good. I'm like, so here's what we did. We ripped off all the witch stuff, and we had the candle. And we just had the candle there, and it was nice. And the thing is what I'm suggesting is receiving that, even though it didn't come from a Christian worldview, we could receive this and receive the goodness of that, because every good and perfect gift comes from God. I don't know if you can catch this idea, this idea that it's good to enjoy the things of this world God, as gifts from God. Matter of fact, one of my favorite book in all of the Bible is the book of Ecclesiastes. I know you're not supposed to have favorites, but I have a favorite kid, so why not have a favorite Bible passage? But here in Ecclesiastes, I know that there is nothing better for people than to be happy and to do good while they live. That each of them may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all their toil. This is the gift of God. That just eat and drink and find good in your work. Like this too is a gift of God. These common graces, and it's good to enjoy these things. I want to redeem the idea that you would ever feel guilty or somehow this is less if you enjoy any of this stuff. It is every good and perfect gift comes from God. But know that it will fade. That it will fade. The joy, the goodness from these gifts, from these things of this world, from the stuff, has a very limited lifespan in terms of the kind of joy and goodness that it can bring you. I remember one year, it was around the end of the year, the grade school that my eldest and second oldest were going to at the time, were having one of those end of year festivity things, and to help raise money for the PTA or whatever, they had these little raffles for these baskets that people put together, and you had all these different baskets of things that people had, and Luke and Lexi, they really wanted to bid on some of these baskets, get some raffle tickets, and I'm like, okay, you know what? It's the money's going for a good cause. I don't care that we're not going to get anything out of it. Maybe it'll be a good lesson about how, lotteries are just a tax on people who don't know how to do math. So I go ahead and I give them $5, and they go and they get it, and they're so excited, dreaming about all the things they're going to get. And of course, when we leave, we didn't get anything. So we go home, and when we get home, there is a message on the machine saying, "We need you to come back. You won." So we won this movie basket, which was this, bag thing, and had some DVDs, including, How to Train Your Dragon and whatever, and all this stuff, and big old things of candy and popcorn and all this stuff. And so we were driving back, and my kids, they were, I don't know why we bothered putting them in seatbelts, because they were bouncing up and down off this car. And we drive back and we collect this, and it's there, and they're going in the back and opening this, and they're going through. They're so excited, and I don't remember if it was Lexi or Luke, and says to me, "This is the happiest I've ever been in my life." And I'm like, well, it's a short life, but they were so excited. They don't necessarily feel that joy anymore about this basket. It was exciting for the time, but it's gone. It's faded. They were super excited. That emotion was there, but now it's not. Why? If every good and perfect gift comes from God, and let's assume that this basket was a good gift, and it came from God, why did it fade? Why did that goodness? The key is in that next line where it says, "Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights." You see, that light of God, that these gifts, these good things, they aren't the good. They aren't the ultimate. They are just hints, glimpses, bits of pieces of the true light that is God. And He alone is going to satisfy. This is so key for us to understand. That the goodness that we might experience, little breaks of laughter and joy and things of this world, are at best little glimpses of the concept of a God of grace who has so much more for us. I want you to catch this idea. This is so big. C.S. Lewis writes about this in Mere Christianity. there's this thing on hope. And he talks about how he says, realize those little glimpses you catch, that little bit of joy, the happiest you've ever been because you got some raffle from some movie thing at a elementary school, is a glimpse of a deeper reality that God offers us. And the fact that we long for that so desperately, C.S. Lewis argues, is actually proof of its existence, or at least an argument for it. Let me read specifically how he puts it. He says, most people, if they really had to look into their own hearts, would know that they do want, and want acutely, something that cannot be had in this world. There are all sorts of things in this world that offer to give it to you, but they never quite keep their promise. See, that's the idea, the fading, because it doesn't keep the promise. Even though it hints that this is going to be happy forever, it doesn't quite keep its promise. He goes on, the longings which arise in us when we first fall in love, or first think of some foreign country, or first take up some subject that excites us, are longings which no marriage, no travel, no learning can really satisfy. And I'm not speaking of what would ordinarily be called unsuccessful marriages or holidays or learned careers. I'm speaking of the best possible ones. There is something we grasp at in that first moment of longing which just fades away in the reality. I think everyone knows what I mean. The wife may be a good wife, and the hotels and the scenery may have been excellent, and chemistry may be a very interesting job, but something has evaded us. Something has evaded us. And what has evaded us, according to, is that idea that there is the God of heavenly lights, the God that is trying to have these moments of little breakthroughs to us. And yet we come overwhelmingly disappointed with the presents after a time, or the gifts, or the experiences, or the people. And when life gives us these disappointments, we've got a few possible reactions to it. One is, C.S. Lewis argues that one is just the fool's reaction that just says, well, the problem must be in the thing, right? The reason I'm no longer satisfied with this movie basket is because it wasn't a better movie. Like, I need to get a better movie, and then things will be good again. Or I need to get the next thing. I need a better relationship. I need a better spouse, or I need better kids, or I have better friends, or a better church, or a better government, or whatever. Then things would finally be good. And I'm going to keep chasing that next thing. I knew a poor guy, Jerry, who would chase this over and over, and he went from job to job looking for that thing that was finally going to be easy and everything wonderful, and that next meal, and he would eat like there was no tomorrow and long for just, if I could just get that, then things would finally be sad. And when that wasn't working, he decided to go into experience with drugs and all of this kind of stuff, and then maybe the next hit, that was going to be it that would finally relieve me of my pain, until his health declines, and as he's on his deathbed, and I don't know how again, but that my heart broke as he continued to say, maybe if I could just find that thing that's not going to fade, that's not going to go away, I'm just going to keep searching for it. That's one option. There's another option that is just to say, well, let's just be jaded. Just realize there's nothing good in this world, that there's nothing that sustains. I know another guy who I interact with who's always frustrated. He's always saying, there's nothing good. I'm done with this world. If suicide was an option, I'd be down with that, but I know it's not. But I'm just, this whole thing is stupid. I'm ready for it to end. Everything is horrible. And when I would ask him, I'm like, but you had this moment last week or this time when we could get together where you said things were good, where you had a good meal, a good conversation, he goes, yeah, but it's never enough. Like, there's never enough. And he just having that disappointment, say life is disappointing, everything is horrible, and that we could just have that reaction too. Just give up. And then, though he doesn't mention it, I would argue there's also a third one where we could just internalize it, which breaks our heart, where we say, well, the real problem isn't it isn't the thing, that I just need to find the right next thing, or the real problem isn't, just give up, but the real problem is me. There's something broken in me. I can't experience life the way it's supposed to be, and it is for everybody else, and there's something seriously wrong. There actually is. That one's actually smart because there is actually something wrong with us. But not what we think. Like, we live in a broken world and we are broken people and we aren't experiencing the joy of Eden like we should and could if everything were right in this world and right with God. But I want you to know that that level of disappointment is evidence itself of its existence and your need for it. Here's how C.S. Lewis argues. He says the Christian way. The Christian says creatures are not born with desires unless satisfaction for those desires exists. A baby feels hunger. Well, there is such a thing as food. A duckling wants to swim. Well, there is such a thing as water. Men feel sexual desire. Well, there is such a thing as sex. But if I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world. If none of my earthly pleasures satisfy it, that does not prove that the universe is a fraud. Probably earthly pleasures were never meant to satisfy it, but only to arouse it, to suggest the real thing. If that is so, then I must take care, on the one hand, never to despise or to be unthankful for these earthly blessings. Right? Enjoy the good stuff. I should never be unthankful for these earthly blessings. And on the other hand, never mistake them for something else of which they're only kind of a copy or an echo or a mirage. They are hints at something so much deeper. And that's why the key is this third one, and that is simply don't settle. To search for the gift, and the gift is God himself. That these moments of joy, these moments of pleasure, these moments of excitement, that every good and perfect gift is from God, that encourage you to say, I want more of that. I want the gift that doesn't fade. I want to continue to connect with a God who will meet those needs. And I realize I'm broken. Like, it's not meeting on, like, as long as I am here on earth, that even my connection with God is going to have to be constantly renewed and constantly gone after. But to know that ultimately that's my only source that is going to meet that clear need that I have been longing for and searching for everything else. And in my disappointments with this world, that people aren't everything they're supposed to be, and my job isn't everything it's supposed to be, and I'm not everything I'm supposed to be, is also evidence of the fact that there is a God who is there to meet those longings. The gift is himself. I mean, that's the story of the cross. Jesus came to this earth and lived in the brokenness. Not just the fact that he got hungry and tired and those kind of things, which, I mean, not to dismiss that, but certainly there, but also on the cross as he was tortured to death, crying out for God himself to say, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? As he experiences the disappointment, the separation, the hurt, the pain, all these things. And yet, when he died, he rose again to say, this doesn't win. Death, pain, sin doesn't win. I win. And what God is offering you in each of these little gifts is the truest of gifts, himself, that says, please come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. You will find rest for your souls, he says, if you take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble of heart, and you will find rest for your souls. So I want to speak to you, for any of you here this morning who are struggling with the disappointment in life, who are struggling with the idea that maybe there's got to be something else. I want you to know that that pain, that separation is indeed real. And it's real because there is a God who is real, and he is calling to you. Join him in that. Each little bit of joy, say, God, I want more of this in you. And each disappointment, say, God, I am longing for you. And see if this Christmas might be different. Let's pray. Lord, I wonder how much of the struggles of the disappointment and the separation, or even the joys, is the fact that I get so distracted. I am distracted by joy. I am distracted by good things. And the scary thing is I'm really tempted to turn them into ultimate things. And so, Lord, I confess that I can easily pull my eyes off of you in the moments of pleasure and joy and goodness. But I don't seem to be that much better when things are painful or difficult either. I start looking at myself and analyzing and doing all these things. And whether the joy or the pain is my own fault or not, I end up having the same reaction. So, Lord, once again, I confess that I've blown it. And I want to focus on you. May every light I see, may every moment of laughter, may every good and perfect gift, may I be aware that it comes from you. And that I am thankful and enjoy it and treat it as these little glimpses of heaven, of the Father of heavenly lights, these little glimpses of your common grace, these little glimpses of who you are, that I will lean into that. And Lord, every fade, every disappointment, everything, Lord, that I realize that deep down what I'm really missing is you. So once again, forgive me, but lead me on into being the person you long for me to be. Help me to catch on to those little bits of heaven now, and then to enjoy it for eternity with you. In Jesus' precious name, amen. Well, let's have a few moments of open worship. If God put something on your heart, you can share that. But as I've said a number of times, if you speak, we're not really going to listen to you, because we're not interested in what you're saying. We're interested in hearing the voice of our Savior. And if that happens in the midst of quietness or in the midst of something you say, we're willing to hear that. And I'll close this in a couple minutes.